Let's look at the backstory and analyze the text from each of these three occasions, one at a time. First, on May 16th, Joseph Smith and his scribe William Clayton briefly visited Carthage to attend to some business there, and then proceeded to a church branch nearby in a town known as Ramus, which had recently been renamed Macedonia. According to William Clayton's journal, that evening, President Joseph and I went to Benjamin F. Johnson's to sleep. Before we retired, the president gave Brother Johnson and wife some instructions on the priesthood, which instruction, according to Clayton, was in part as follows. He said that except a man and his wife enter into an everlasting covenant and be married for eternity while in this probation by the power and authority of the holy priesthood, they will cease to increase when they die. That is, they will not have any children in the resurrection. But those who are married by the power and authority of the priesthood in this life and continue without committing the sin against the Holy Ghost will continue to increase and have children in the celestial glory. He also said that in the celestial glory there was 3 heavens or degrees, and in order to obtain the highest, a man must enter into this order of the priesthood, and if he don't, he can't obtain it. He may enter into the other, but that is the end of his kingdom. He cannot have increase. It was this last statement in Clayton's journal that was later excerpted and slightly modified, likely by Elder Orson Pratt, and included as verses 1 to 4 in the 1876 version of this section in the Doctrine and Covenants. The modifications made to Clayton's notes are primarily grammatical, with one clarifying clause added in brackets in verse 2. So, with that said, let's analyze this text. Verse 1 here is commonly interpreted as saying that the highest degree of the 3 degrees of glory, the celestial kingdom, is itself subdivided into 3 additional heavens or degrees. But this is most likely a mistaken reading of the text, as it is based solely on the assumption that the phrase celestial glory is a reference to the celestial kingdom. However, in Joseph's day, as in our own, the word celestial was also a generic word meaning simply heavenly or the realms above. If William Clayton recorded his words accurately, it appears that Joseph is using the word celestial here in this more generic sense as a reference to heaven or the heavenly glory. Such a reading is consistent with Joseph's other teachings. For instance, Joseph had previously taught that the term heaven, as intended for the saints' eternal home, includes more kingdoms than one. And he discovered in his vision recorded in section 76 that there are, in fact, to be specific, 3 heavenly kingdoms within what he termed the eternal world or the world of glory, namely the telestial, terrestrial, and celestial. Elsewhere, Joseph explicitly spoke of these 3 kingdoms as being 3 heavens, the same phrase being used here in verse 1. So, rather than introducing a new doctrine in verse 1 about the highest of the 3 kingdoms being subdivided into 3 additional heavens or degrees, Joseph is almost certainly just reaffirming to Benjamin and Melissa Johnson what he had already revealed in section 76, that in the celestial or heavenly glory there are 3 heavens or degrees. And in verse 2, he is explaining what would be further clarified in section 132, that in order to obtain the highest of these 3 divisions of heavenly glory, a man must enter into this order of the priesthood, meaning the new and everlasting covenant of marriage. And if he does not, he cannot obtain the highest heaven. He may enter into the other, but that is the end of his kingdom. He cannot have an increase, meaning, according to Joseph's teachings just prior to this paragraph in Clayton's journal, to have children in the resurrection. In this reading, then, the prophet Joseph is teaching that marriage in the everlasting covenant is required to attain the highest of the 3 heavens within God's eternal world of glory.